This is Frank J. Avella with Awards Daily. Today in our Oscar Legends series, we have one of the most exciting, daring, and ubiquitous actors working today. From her Tony-nominated and Tony-winning roles on stage in Angels in America and God of Carnage, to her richly deserved Academy Award-winning performance in Ed Harris's Pollock, to her mesmerizing Oscar-nominated turn in Clint Eastwood's Mystic River, as well as her scene-stealing Emmy-nominated TV work. She has captivated audiences and continues to do so with a slew of upcoming projects, including the heartwarming film Gigi and Nate. What a thrill to welcome Marcia Gay Harden.
Thank you. I wish I could take everything you said and put it in a little time capsule and keep it with me forever. Thank you for the beautiful introduction.
You are most welcome. Let me start by asking a little bit about Gigi and Nate. Another exquisite performance, by the way. You play Claire, a fiercely protective mother whose son becomes paralyzed. Tell me about diving into this difficult part.
You know, when I first read it, I also had read the book written by a woman that sort of inspired this story. And I was incredibly moved by the tumultuous place she had to go to, and this heart broken wide open. And you learned about people who would help this family in their deepest, darkest despair. And I'd had not similar, but a tragic event in my life as well. And I do remember distinctly that it was the people around me who were kind of pulling us up and through it. And there's this beautiful little scene in Nate and Gigi where somebody's one of the dads trying to rent a car, and he can't get a car, and the man behind him gives him his car. So I remember bursting out into tears when I was reading the book about, when this most sad things happened. The pilot of the plane says, we'll reroute the plane because he knows this mom is on her way to her kid and he wants to help them. So that inspired me. Then the fact of being a mother bear myself and knowing that if anything happened to my kids, I would maybe have to tear your head off to make sure that my kid was okay. If you tried to hurt my child or if they got hurt, I would go to the ends of the earth to do something for my kids. And that bond, and this woman Claire, that she would do that. She was a fighter, and she wasn't always likable. And I kind of like that about her too. She was complicated. She was pissed at her husband. She was, maybe overprotective, like to give a disabled child freedom. That's all they want. And to finally allow for it because you're afraid they're going to get hurt again. And to go through that journey, I thought there was so much to dive into and so much to chew as an actor, to just play. And then I was kind of taken aback sometimes by actually going to those places and being in the middle of that sadness. It certainly would trigger other things. And so it would be hard, but I felt like that was the right place to go. That was where she went. And that's what people would relate to. People who've had these kind of losses, they relate to that, almost crying to the gods,
That fiercely protective bond, it was palpable, really. I thought about my late mother and myself. So thank you for that. Mm-hmm. It's been a treat to rewatch so many of your films. And a recurring theme I found in a lot of your work is risk-taking. So I'd like to go back to your first major film role, Verna, in Miller's Crossing. Could you tell me about working with the Coens and what that experience in retrospect meant moving forward?
Okay, well, first of all, you have to know it's my first film. So it meant everything. When you talk about risk-taking, they hired a complete unknown to be the female lead of their movie. So they're taking risks. They didn't go, well, what credits does she have? How many followers does she have on Instagram? This was about, do we want this actress to play this role? And I remember actually getting the script ahead of time rather than the day before. I remember being able to do research with Thin Man and all the Dashiell Hammett so I could kind of understand, where she came from. And I remember being allowed to transform. And in the audition, I had actually very long hair at the time. But I had read the Dashiell Hammett and I read these things, and I knew she was like a poker face and she played poker. So I got to go in and play a character. And to their credit, they took the risk in hiring me. Then we went down for it's the first time in my life I'd done this. I got flown down. Oh my God, someone's flying me. And I had per diem. Oh my God, I get to eat. And they said, can we cut your hair? I was like, of course. And can we pluck your eyebrows? Of course. And so they allowed me to transform and to do this movie and to be this character. And forever in my life, I will be grateful to them for giving me that, because it changed my life. I did go back to catering right after it because
Oh,
I still had to pay school, to my school debts and things like that. But it changed my life. I got to be in a Coen Brothers movie, and they would sort of, as they're famously known for, they would direct at the same time. Their sentences would dovetail each other. So Joel might go, Marcia, in this scene, can you just try it a little more? And Ethan would say, yeah, what he said. If it could be in the world of, and Joel would say, yes, exactly. And I'd go faster. Like, yes. They're gorgeous, just great human beings.
that's marvelous. And a couple of years later, you were in one of my personal favorites in terms of your performance, Used People. You played Norma, a woman who slips into the skin of film characters in order to survive. I love that performance and that cast. My God.
Yes. Shirley MacLaine, Joe Pantoliano, Marcello Mastroianni. Are you kidding me? I mean, Marcello, Jessica Tandy, Kathy Bates, Sylvia Sidney. Am I forgetting?
Those are the majors. Those are the biggies. Yeah.
So that was enormous to be in that cast, working with just people at the top of their game. But I have to say, my takeaway was, my two friend takeaways really deeply were Joey Pantoliano, who is just a fantastic actor, and I think just an American gift, and people don't know enough about his acting. He's amazing. And Marcello Mastroianni, who of course is, the Italian legend. And Marcello would say to me, "Oh, Marcia, it's true. I am a clown, but I am a snob. I'm a snob too. And I'm a peasant and I am a snob." And he just having a life experience with Marcello Mastroianni was fantastic for me, because it's not just the film, you're doing the film, you're doing the words, you're doing the character, but you also go away with a life experience from people. And Marcello, at the time Fellini was dying, and Marcello would tell us story after story after story about working with Fellini. We'd be sitting in his room watching Fellini movies, and he would be telling us stories about the movie. It was like, are you kidding me? This is a life experience. And then the character, I got to be Anne Bancroft, Marilyn Monroe. I just got to transform into all these different classic, iconic women and play this character who was mentally unstable and have fun with it. And so it was fun for me.
It's a joy. Everybody should see that film. 2000, Lee Krasner, Pollock. Can you tell me about discovering who she really was and then making her your own?
Well, the two words out of my mouth are Ed Harris, because he auditioned me for it. He really wanted to have the right person in the right role. And I knew another actress who was up for it. And I actually thought she was more like Lee, because she's a bit harder. And I'm a bit warmer of a person. I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and I thought, oh, she's more that. But Ed cast me, and I remember my third audition, I was doing all the research, and I'd come over to his house, and I had the accent because I'd listened to Leo on tape, and I had it down. And I came over to the house, and he said, "Marcia Gay, what are you doing?" I said, "Ed, I'm doing Lee Krasner. I'm doing." He goes, "Stop it immediately." He said, "People have to be able to listen to her for, an hour and a half, and you've got to find a way to make it you. Find a way to make it you." So you take that, what in her old age, she'd become a little more like that, which is what I've been listening to. And it's true. That would become what people were paying attention to. So I had to find a way to make it mine. And part of that was just relaxing with it. And my kids will tell you part of that was being her at home, because then the accent doesn't become an accent, it becomes the way you're talking. But I would be like, "All right, what do you want for breakfast? Who wants squatty? Who wants this?" Like, "Mom,
Oh my God.
we just want Cheerios, not Cheerios." So you bring it home. And then I did all the research about her. And then it was working with Ed. Ellen Burstyn had said in another film I did with her that the actors that you work with make you better. And Ed 100% made me better as he acting with him and him directing me. He just asked me to go places I hadn't gone before. He pushed me. He 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 loved me like a brother, and he made me feel incredibly safe, even though incredibly safe going to unsafe places. And
Wow.
that was such a gift for me. So Ed Harris is all about Lee Krasner. But then there's another little part. I got to speak to her niece, and her niece was a woman named Rusty Kanakogi. And I went out to meet Rusty, and Rusty said, Marcia, if you want to know about playing Lee Krasner, start screaming from the minute you get into the door to the minute you get out. And I said, okay. And the other thing she says is, this is very, very important, actually. She said, Marcia, Lee Krasner is like finally practical. So she's always like always practical. So she's not like emoting like Pollock, like Pollock, just do this, just do this. And so Ed and I would often use that on set to just be practical with the language. She wasn't about lots of drama around it. She said, just paint, Pollock, just paint. You're a painter, you're a great painter, just paint. So not like sort of constantly empathetic and nurturing. She was, go do this.
Wow. Well, and you get this question, I'm sure, all the time, but the Oscar win shocked pundits because you hadn't been nominated for any of the precursors. There was just the New York Film Critics Award. It was an upset that proves the Academy gets it right sometimes.
I love you for saying that. That night was incredible. I was expecting another person to win. And when they called my name and Ed jumped up, and I was stunned and thrilled. But I remember the press in the upper balcony. I remember people cheering up there, and I thought, and then that made me want to cry because I thought, wow, that's such a true honor. I mean, I was surprised. I've never had a SAG nomination that I remember. I've never had a Golden Globe. So it was really lovely.
Quick thing about Lee. Her career thrived once Pollock died. So there's a sequel to be made there, Marcia. What do you think?
I think that's such an interesting observation because they were that perfectly dysfunctional relationship, right? Like in therapy, the one partner will go, but if I leave them, they'll die. They'll disintegrate. I can't leave because I'm there supporting them. And the therapist will go, leave. They'll be fine. They'll learn how to survive. And in this case, Lee left because she herself was dying. She left. He didn't survive without her, unlike what the therapist would say. He couldn't navigate it. He didn't survive without her. But then she blossomed because she had been subjugating herself to him for so long. And her art is phenomenal. The pinks and it's gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I love it. And I thought, you have to. There are too many stories about women subjugating themselves to their husbands' careers. And I loved in this case that when she decided to take herself on as her own challenge, she flourished.
Yeah, it's amazing. And your collaboration with Clint Eastwood began on Space Cowboys, and 3 years later you played the tortured Celeste. Oh my God, I just wanted to hug her. Can you tell me about the Clint experiences?
Oh my gosh, he is my hero. Ed Harris had called Clint when I was doing Pollock because Space Cowboys was shooting at a perfect little bit of time when Ed was basically getting fat for Pollock. And Ed called Clint and he said, hey, Clint, I'll talk to you about Marcia. Clint, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, she's a good girl. She's a good girl? Yeah, she's a good girl. All right, thanks. And I got the bit. And what that really translated to mean is I'm not a diva. I'm not like, I'll be in my trailer, just not the way I've been brought up, right? So I got the role. I met Clint. I was so nervous when I met him for the first time because I remembered him from Rawhide as a child and was in love with him. And when I met him, I literally bit a hole in my tongue because I was blabbing so much and my limbic system said, shut up. And I bit a hole in my tongue that I had to put ice on. So then I had to go say, excuse me, Mr. Eastwood, but for the theme, I'm going to be fine. Don't worry. But my thumb is a little swollen. It's really fine. She's like, oh. He played a trick on me. he said, we've got word that now you've got to say it from this. We got word from Warner Brothers. You got to say it a line like this, which I had to say something like, instead of we need to get back to headquarters, I had to say, as Clint was pretending, I had to say, we have to get back to space shuttle mission control. So you can only imagine. He made me do it a couple times. And I said, okay, it's just a joke. You can say headquarters. So I fell in love with him because he has such a goofy sense of humor, but he's also completely, he knows what he wants. And it's like you show up to the Indy 500. You're not showing up and someone going, okay, let's do a couple practice runs, with the whole audience watching and the whole crew. No, the crew is on their A game. You're on your A game. He's on his A game. The script, everything is on his A game. And you show up when he says action, go. Okay, once, great. Maybe twice. Oh, if you're super lucky, 3 times. Mystic River, because I'd shown up on the Space Cowboys with my Pollock haircut because I thought they were going to give me a wig. So I learned next time show up ready to go. So Mystic River, I showed up with the hair pieces that I wanted. I showed up with my coat that I wanted for Celeste. And I had, the set was run like a well-oiled machine. It was beautiful because everybody loves Clint and he makes such a warm and safe environment. But he does a few takes. And I will throw it out to he and Sean Penn. They had such a great relationship. We were doing that famous scene on the stairs when Celeste is supposed to say that her husband is the one who killed his daughter. And I was off camera for Sean first and was going through all the emotions and for him. And then it came my turn and I wasn't as great because I had been off camera. And I had my 1 take, I had my 2 takes. That gave me 3. And it was good, but it wasn't there. And it wasn't there. And then he said, all right, should we move on? Is that enough of that? And Sean looked at him and he goes, nope, she's got 1 more in her. And everything is like raise all the stakes. I was like, okay. And Sean helped me be better.
That's amazing. That's truly amazing. You've worked with so many legends, McClane, Fonda, Keaton. I wanted to ask you, did you find yourself wanting to, obviously you did want to listen to some of their stories. And now as an icon yourself, do you enjoy passing them along?
God, this is me. And then I was, Shirley MacLaine, Meryl Streep sharing a dressing room. Are you kidding me? It's half the fun. It's fun. And then Marcello said, I'm a clown. And then he sat on a whoopee cushion. Like it's half the fun, Here's what happens today on a set, which is really sad.
Yeah.
Everyone's there, right with their phone. Cut. Nobody talks to anybody on their phones. I appreciate it because I can do, now that I have 3 kids and I have a life and it was hard. It was easier before with just me when there weren't cell phones, but now with cell phones, at least I can still run my life. But absolutely 100%, you miss all of those great, great stories and those great bonding moments. And you kind of have to say to myself, I'm putting that phone down. I just worked with a great actress, Kate Burton. And, we're old school. We're same age. We're same, very similar sort of trajectories. And Kate, you couldn't pull us away from each other to get back to set because I'm working on So Help Me Todd, a CBS show. They would have to be like, we're ready. Okay. And then when my dad, because dad was Richard Burton, then my dad would go, oh yes, and then Marcello. We were just like, blah, blah, blah. That's the fun of it.
It's amazing. And speaking of legends, you actually worked with Peter O'Toole in this little scene gem called The Christmas Cottage, which I loved.
Yes, I loved Peter O'Toole. God, he's so beautiful. And so, I don't know how old he was when we shot that, but still so vital and so smart and intelligent. Yes, I worked with him. I worked with Christopher Plummer in another film, it was Shirley, a small little indie. And I remember Christopher Plummer talking to me about Hamlet and, yes, this is the thing, Marcia, the mind, which is nobler than the mind. And just, that's, I worked with Albert Finney and did great stories there. I shared a dressing room with Meryl Streep once. Just, hello, this is my life. I'm so blessed.
Uh, well, I want to pivot briefly to your TV work because I specifically wanted to ask you about The Newsroom and The Morning Show, which are you're Emmy nominated for this year, by the way. Congratulations. They're both two shows that strive to locate the truth in journalism, and you get to play these complex women, within that milieu. First of all, amazing work, but what two incredible projects to be a part of.
And the writers, I always jump back to the word, the beginning, the play is the thing. And in this case, the writers in both cases, I mean, Aaron Sorkin, here's the things you get to say, here's the things you get to do, here's this woman. There's a similarity between them, actually. Carrie Aaron was Morning Show, but there's a similarity between both of those journalists. They're hard asses. They're not. There's kind of a veneer behind which they wait pounds.
Yeah.
Wait pounds. And that gave them this strength and rhythm. Morning Show, she was slightly, I think, brittler. Newsroom, she was a little more brittle than Morning Show. But Morning Show, I had the great opportunity to base her on Maureen Dowd, who's just a fantastic New York Times reporter, badass woman, sassy redhead, sexy, in her 60s, and a searing reporter, not afraid to open up a story. And has been apparently Obama, when she was on a plane with Obama, said, "You are trouble," because she won't stop till she gets in there. But she's slightly warmer. She's a slightly warmer shade of cold. I think in Newsroom, and I had the great pleasure to meet her briefly, and I thought, she's a dame and she's sexy, and I loved that. She also handles her, she's down in here, she's down in here, she's down in here, and that was kind of fun to do.
Your stage work. I when I was in grad school at NYU, saw you in Angels in America. And you were absolutely astonishing. Harper, this one I became a huge fan of yours. And then God of Carnage. I mean, looking back, what were those experiences like? And do you miss theater?
I know we're on limited time, but I must ask you, how old were you at NYU when you saw that?
When I saw that, I was, let me see, it was 93. I've got to do math now, 18, 19.
Baby. That's so beautiful. I'm so glad you got to see it. Both formative and enormous experiences. I will say, to have done Angels in America, it was maybe the most important thing I've done, probably in my career. And it was the moment in life where what's happening in the world and what's happening with the needs of the world and the needs, especially in the gay community, and the art that I got to do came together and married so beautifully, and I think changed my life forever. First of all, Tony Kushner, he's the Shakespeare of the day. His words so beautiful, and George Sewell directing that, the rhythm. He directs with rhythm. He directs with compassion and rhythm, and so it was enormous. But then I would be down in the Village, and I would have young men come up to me and say, "You're Marcia Gay Harden." Yes. Well, I took my parents to see that play, and then I told them I was dying, and that AIDS was just it was just beginning to be, I don't want to say under control, but sort of right at that, whatever that thin line would be. But what we learned from the gay community in terms of how a community can come together, how they came together for each other, how they fought together for each other, how they fought for the prices to come down in medicine, that was the most tremendous moment I think in the past 20 years of history. This change of how we treat disease. They broke stigma after stigma. We would they had the gay pride parades in Washington, and I will to this day remember David Marshall Grant coming back and saying, "Well, we were down there, we got to march for some reason, I don't know what I was doing, I couldn't go with them." And he was like, "We would march, we go, we're here, we're queer, it's the end of our career. We're here, we're queer, it's the end of our career." And that's not the case anymore. That's not how it is anymore. People were coming out and owning themselves right, left, and center. And to be at this moment in time where you cannot say gay in certain states, where they're reversing, where you're not allowed to teach history as it really is, it just seems like a travesty. And I go back to that, however many years ago that was, 94, right? 93, 94. And I think, God bless you, Tony, for having put this out there. This is not to diminish God of Carnage. God of Carnage was another incredible moment. It was also about political correctness. I mean, underneath it all, it's about being politically correct and being a false person because you're being politically correct. And so it was huge for me also to do that. I mean, is there anything like Broadway?
No, absolutely not. And we miss you.
I should say theater in general, not just Broadway. But yeah.
It meant so much to somebody like me who was just figuring out his sexual orientation at a time where it was scary. I mean, and the Antarctica moments in particular that you were in are seared into my memory. Unfortunately, I have to move on to sort of a lightning round since we don't have that much more time. So I'm going to throw some quick questions at you. Just give me your thoughts. Loved your work with Neil Patrick Harris in Uncoupled. Good experience?
Fabulous.
Awesome. I love that. In The Maiden Heist, Rose, such an amazing creation. And you and Christopher Walken. How was that?
Fabulous. First of all, revere Chris Walken. He made me laugh so hard. I literally beat my pants. It was a great experience. And to be able to create Rose, who I knew her nails were not orange. They were coral. It was fabulous.
Do you have any final words on the whole Judi Dench thing that journalists tried to turn into a Tempest?
I mean, she is the most elegant and beautiful and gracious woman. And I felt horribly how that got schismed because it wasn't true. But to this day, I just think she's the most gorgeous. And if someday she would deign to have tea with me, I would be so thrilled.
Mrs. Carmody in The Mist, you terrified me.
At the theater, literally, people were screaming, "Kill her! Kill her!" And when my ex started screaming it too, I was like, now you know why he's my ex.
Love it.
Fabulous and scary. Fabulous and scary. I loved her.
Yeah, and one of the most devastating endings I've ever seen.
Well, that was controversial. And I sort of loved him for doing it because maybe in the book that wasn't the Stephen King ending, but I think to just question the ridiculousness of these wars where we were losing, young men and women, right, left and center, to question it, the ridiculousness of loss, unnecessary loss. I thought that was Frank's little twist there, and I loved him for doing it.
I have one question left because we're running out of time, so I'm going to make it about Confess Fletch, which I was supposed to see, but I haven't seen yet. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Because everything is about me. I had so much fun doing that. This is the retake on Fletch, the Chevy Chase series, and John Hamm brilliantly plays him. But my friend Greg Mottola, who directed it, had called me because it's the middle of COVID, and he said, "We need an Italian, and we can't get an Italian actress to come play the Contessa. Would you play it?" And I said, "No one will ever let me do that because you should have a real Italian." He's like, "Marcia, it's COVID. She can't come over. Please, will you do it?" I said, "Okay." So I started training with this woman. Fantastic. And I loved it so much. And she called him Flash. Why are you doing this? And I thought, this is my, what do you call it? Like, I want to say alma mater. What's the word when you say like your alter ego? She is my alter ego. This a woman. I want to be her all the time. And I want to be always doing this with my shoulders all the time. I love her so much. So we had a great time shooting it. It was up in Boston, which is a fabulous city. And I just got to play this fun character with John Hamm. I mean, hello, it was fun.
Marcia, I can't thank you enough. Please keep giving us these amazing characters. Keep them coming.